All right, Clayton. After the show, it's the After BO. Welcome to the BO Boys Network and the After BO for Thursday, March 7th. We just did a great episode with wannabe BO boy Austin Gallego, the star of Cabrini opening this weekend. Talked about Kung Fu Panda 4, all the big movies. Clayton, we're going to do an After BO, and we are going to talk Oscars.
Yep.
Oscars, who will win?
Who will win?
Um, are you excited for the Academy Awards taking place this Sunday, March 10th? What is your excitement level going into the Oscars?
I mean, the Osc. It's the it's maybe the best weekend of the year for me.
Mm,
Uh,
wow. Okay.
I love it, and I'm excited even though it feels to me like most of the country's not excited. And we even got an email, and I'm dipping in the mailbag real quick because we didn't get to
Do it.
this email, and we got it 6 days ago. Wanna BO boy Ty
Mm-hmm.
or Tyler, whichever one, let us know.
Let us know in the comments. Yeah.
Yeah, wrote Dune 2 overshadowing Oscars and asked us whether we see the fact that Dune Part 2, which is not in the running, and we've
Mm-hmm.
talked about this, is overshadowing the Academy Awards ceremony.
Okay.
And I
Yeah.
think this is a spectacular question. And I think it sort of is. I know there's the hardcore Oscar heads like us, which we watch all the time. We used to have huge parties for
Right.
it. And again, we will
Big
have huge
Oscar
parties
pools.
again,
Yeah.
big Oscar pools. And that will happen again. We're just in a transitional period right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think there is a level of, since all of the categories are basically locked up, there is less interest than there would be normally. What do you think?
I disagree a little bit. I mean,
Okay.
listen, we're never going to have the heyday of the Oscars in the 90s, Billy Crystal hosting or Whoopi Goldberg hosting and Titanic winning. And, the TV has changed, the people's interests are more dispersed. But
SAG was
I,
on Netflix.
SAG was on. But you know what? SAG being on Netflix is probably going to have more people watching than SAG being on TNT
True.
at
Oh,
this point. So
true. True.
I do think, I actually think this award season feels bigger than we've had definitely since before the pandemic.
Okay.
I think the ratings are going to be up higher than last year.
They couldn't be
And
lower.
well, I mean, the year, they've ticked up. Obviously, the lowest was going to be spring 21, and then the last few have gone higher. And I think this is going to be significantly higher in that I think it could do like 20 million people watching, which I think last year was like 15 or 16. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think there's more interest because Oppenheimer is a slam dunk. It's going to win. We didn't get the Oppenheimer Barbie like battle, but Oppenheimer was a giant movie that a lot of people saw,
Yeah. People
and
love Oppenheimer.
people love
And they
Oppenheimer.
love Nolan, and they want to see him get his gold.
Yeah, and I think he's a director, and this is a movie that I think pretty well plays all across the country. So I think the Earth Dogs, the Plain Billies, the Stax Dwellers, they're into Oppenheimer. I don't think anyone looks at Nolan as like a, you know, political guy on either side. I think everyone kind of likes him and they like the Batman movie. So I actually think this Oscars does have more buzz than we've had in a while. And, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but maybe it does do more than the 2019 Oscars, the ones that took place in February 2020 that Parasite won. Maybe it crawls up to even close to that. Probably not, because less people have TV than 5 years ago. But I think there's buzz for this. I disagree. I think there's buzz. I think Jimbo Kimball doesn't matter one way or the other, but he's a steady hand. Um, I think that Robert Downey is a big star. He's just a famous guy. He played Iron Man, and we went on a whole rant about how superhero movies didn't create movie stars. But Robert Downey Jr. is super popular. He's
Yeah.
going to win an Oscar. I think that draws people in. I think there's buzz for this Oscars. I do.
So 2019 Oscars garnered 29.6 million viewers.
Okay, this won't do that. It
Yeah,
can't.
so this won't do this. It can't. It can't. But yeah, I mean, if this keeps ticking up, if it's a fun show, I mean, Ryan Gosling is going to be singing "I'm Just Ken."
Yep.
That's big. Everybody's going to want to see that. I guess maybe I, I'm excited. I guess maybe I'm just not as excited. I mean, I
Yeah.
am,
Neither of us
but
love Oppenheimer, and we wish it was a question as to whether it would win.
yeah, I think as box office pundits, we sort of wanted to see enemies that turn to friends turn back into enemies when you
Yeah,
look at the
yeah.
Barbenheimer, right? Where it
Right.
was, hey, this release is a fuck you. And then it became a mutually beneficial
Right.
just phenomenon. And then the, it didn't get to, I don't think Barbie got to finish her story, is what I'm
Yes.
saying.
Hashtag we want Barbie.
Yeah, and I think that you can call us a Barbie crybabies if you want,
Hmm.
but there is something to cry about here because again, Oppenheimer's box office, a lot of it is due to Barbie and the Barbenheimer phenomena, and as BO guys, we really look at that when we think, okay, what's the battle here? Like, what's the storyline? And the storyline just feels incomplete with
Yeah.
Oppenheimer sort of running away with this.
Yeah, definitely. But I think there's something to, like the Titanic year, and obviously this is not that, but people like looking forward to the Oscars because they know the movie they saw is going to win.
Mm-hmm.
And you haven't had that the last few years with Nomadland or even Coda or everything everywhere did fine, was a hit, but it's not Oppenheimer. Most
Yeah, I
people,
mean,
it's not a movie that $300 million domestic worth of people saw. That
yeah,
just is.
it was the biggest hit that had won in years,
Yeah, and it
and
made like 70 million domestic, which is
yeah,
good, but this Oppenheimer is going to get people excited because they saw it. All
mm-hmm.
right, so real quick, the emailer mentioned Dune 2, whether that's overshadowing. I don't know if it's overshadowing the Oscars. I think the Oscars is its own thing, but Dune 2 was supposed to come out in November of last year. And if it had come out, this is all hypothetical, but where do you think Dune 2 would have changed the Oscar race if it had come out November of 2023? And let's say it opened as well as it did, which it may not have. I mean, I think this new release date did help, but let's
Yeah.
imagine Dune 2 opens to, 60, 70 million. It's a big hit and goes on and continues and becomes a big hit. Where is it in the Oscar race if that had happened?
Yeah, I mean it's hard to do this, but we're gonna do it anyway. I mean, I do think that it makes a serious challenge for best picture here, more so
Mm-hmm.
than anything else coming up against Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
Just because the first one won so many Oscars and was nominated for so many Oscars,
1-6.
I think the below the line stuff that looks like slam doinks for Oppenheimer, that's all thrown off.
Yeah,
Like it
sound and cinematography and all
cinematography,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
all that stuff. I mean, not that Oppenheimer is going to win for costume design, but costume design, like these. I mean, I think Denise
Visual effects,
gets
to
into
a point, yeah.
directing. I
Yes.
mean, that's possible. I mean, I think, editing, like all of these, you know, is that how Anatomy of a Fall sort of gets pushed out of a few of these too? Like film editing, does Anatomy of the Fall get in if Dune is there?
If Dune 2 comes out, I think that Denis Villeneuve gets in there instead of Justin Trier for director. And I think Best Picture, Anatomy of a Fall, or maybe Maestro fully gets trampled, but I think Dune 2 gets into Best Picture and Best Director. And then I think if that happens and Dune 2 is like the recent hit, the one that opens in November and ends up making $300 million over the next couple of months, uh, I think Dune 2 goes into Oscar day as a legitimate challenger for Best Picture.
Do you think, and this is the big one,
Yeah.
because I just don't see the acting nominations here, the noms. Do you think there's a possibility Chalamet gets in for lead actor and you get Coleman Domingo pushed out? Or you get Bradley Cooper pushed out? I mean, that's the thing
I
about Maestro is that
I think
Maestro.
Maestro was the weakest one going into this. I see a world in which Chalamet, if Dune had come out past November, Chalamet gets Best Actor over Bradley Cooper, maybe. Although I don't know.
And then
That's a tough one.
do you think Austin Butler, which is something that you were sort of high on and still for next year,
Yeah.
getting a supporting, I mean, is that Sterling K? Does he get pushed out?
I don't think he does. Best Supporting Actor was so tough this year.
Yeah.
I don't think Austin Butler would have gotten in. I think he's got a better chance looking at the dearth of Oscar movies in 2024. I
Yeah.
think the biggest thing is Dune 2 would have been a serious challenger for Best Picture
Mm-hmm.
against Oppenheimer if it came out in November.
Yeah.
Um, I that would have been really, really interesting. It would have
Yeah.
been really interesting.
I
And
think
I
either way, Nolan still wins Best Director just because it feels like it's his year.
yeah, yeah. I mean the other thing is if Dune 2 had come out in November, that's Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers put a ton behind Barbie for the Oscar campaigning,
Ugh.
and they still would have had to because Barbie was the biggest movie of the year.
Oh
But
yeah.
I wonder if that splits their efforts a little bit. It you know, because they would have had two Best Picture candidates.
Mm-hmm. And which
Um,
one do you go with? Because you really have to
you
push forward
can't
with
ignore
one,
Barbie.
and
Yeah,
you can't ignore Barbie. So does Dune 2 get maybe a shorter end of the stick because of that?
yeah, yeah. Yeah. It would have been fascinating, but that's not what happened. So all right, let's give our just run through. All right, Best Picture is going to be Oppenheimer. It's not worth talking about that on
No.
Sunday. Best Director is going to be Nolan. Not worth talking about that. Supporting actor, do you see any upset, or that's Robert Downey Jr. for sure?
And honestly, the only surprise I could see here is possibly Emily Blunt in
Supporting
supporting
actress,
actress, just because who I mean Oppenheimer's so strong. That could be one of
right?
those weird things where someone wins the whole
That would
season
be
until
such a
the last
shocker.
one. And it would be sort of cruel
It would be
and
cruel. That would be mean to Divine
Joy
Joy
Randolph.
Randolph if she
Yeah.
doesn't win the Oscar after this. It would be such a prank. That would
Yeah.
be a prank at this point if she doesn't win the Oscar.
Yeah, I feel like at that point, the cast of Prank Panel, ABC's Prank Panel, which of
Mm-hmm.
course is Eric Andre, Johnny
Mm-hmm.
Knoxville, and Gabade Sidibe, would come out and say, "We got you.
Yeah.
We got you."
Yeah. Would the holdovers then have been a part of the prank, like the existence of that movie, or that was separate? That was a real movie.
Well, I
They
guess we'll figure out Oscar night.
Yeah. Wow. If this is a prank panel situation with Divine uh
Joy Randolph.
Troy Randolph, that would be sad.
It would be terrible. It would be
It would be
terrible.
terrible. It would be terrible. We're
Yeah.
not rooting for that. We want her to win. We don't want this to be all the precursors to be part of ABC's prank panel.
It would be, as Joe Buck famously said, a disgusting act.
Yes. Yes. I think she's a lock. Downey's obviously a lock for supporting
Slam
actor.
doinks, yeah.
Slam doink. I, I mean, listen, obviously it's hopeful rooting. I don't think Best Actor is a slam doink the
No.
way the supporting categories are. But are you leaning Cillian Murphy? If you had to bet right now, is he winning Best Actor on Sunday?
Yeah, yeah. Gun to my head.
Gun to your head, you do it. I
Yeah.
think gun to my head, I still go Giamatti. I just think
You
he's gonna win.
love
I
Pig
think he's gonna
Vomit
win.
so much.
I love
Gun.
Pig Vomit.
Okay.
Gun to my head.
L-
Gun to my head. I say Pig Vomit.
Gun
I
to
don't even say Giamatti. I say Pig Vomit.
gun to your head when they open that envelope.
Yeah.
Whoever's there doing giving out that award
Yeah.
says the winner is
Yeah.
Pig Vomit.
Pig Vomit. I think it's gonna be Pig Vomit wins for the holdovers.
And it would be Best Actor from last year, who was trying to
Last
remember.
year,
Oh, Brendan Fraser comes out if he can stand up at this
they're
point.
gonna so they're gonna trot Brendan Fraser out this year. I
That's a
mean,
big
that's
question.
yeah. I mean, that's worth the price of admission.
I guess. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so he comes out and he just like gurgles pig vomit.
Right. Which, I mean, that would be his natural thing that he'd want to say at any given moment.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
if you have Brendan Fraser announce Best Actor,
Uh-huh.
then gun to my head, I'm 100% saying that he will say pig vomit.
Yeah. Yeah. And it might not have anything to do with Paul Giamatti.
No, he might think he's just like ordering at a restaurant.
Well, spoiler, and I know Kirk Minahan is going to be jealous. We're watching the Oscars together.
Yeah.
Kirk, you're just not in the city. You're just not in the city right now. But we will
I
have you
mean,
over. But
the con-
I could easily put a gun to your head.
yes, you definitely could. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're always carrying. You're always in a carry zone.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so Best Actress. This is the one that is of the big categories most up in the air.
Mm-hmm.
It conventional wisdom is it's either Lily Gladstone or Emma Stone.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of think there is a chance of a total shocker here and Sandra Huller of Anatomy of a Fall winning this category. Do you think there's any chance of that?
Yeah, oh, I think there's a chance. I mean, I think there's a chance. I'm saying there's a chance.
Wow.
I think more so than the Emily Blunt shocker.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a shocker that is more likely to happen because there's so much love for this movie.
Yeah.
And, you know, Emma Stone already has one. And I do think there is a thought process that she will have more chances, even though sometimes that does not come to pass. But also, if you already won one, you already have one.
Right.
You know, uh, yeah, I think there's just so much love for that performance. Plus, there's been a resurgence, and I know there's been articles that people scoffed at about Zone of Interest and it having a shot at Best Picture. And I know that's hyperbolic and that's clickbait, but that movie is getting talked about now. And the fact that Sandra Huller is in that movie and
Yeah.
Anatomy, and that's the movie she could be given gold for, that means something. I mean,
Yes.
a lot of people are talking about Zone of Interest right now.
Yeah. I think in Best Director, if they ever release the votes,
Hashtag release the votes.
hashtag release the votes, I think Jonathan Glazer is going to finish second in Best Director.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. Like if Nolan had to step down before Sunday
Yeah.
as a nominee,
Uh-huh.
and we won't even speculate as to why he might have to, but let's just say something gets unearthed and Christopher Nolan had to step down as a nominee in the next 2 days.
Something would resurface. That's what they always say is something resurfaces, but it's dug up. We know it's dug up. Nothing resurfaces. It's all dug up.
If a appearance on a podcast, Christopher Nolan was on a podcast years ago and said something, and then it gets resurfaced and he has to step down as a nominee and they have to go with the second choice who got the second most votes. Jonathan Glazer's winning that Oscar on Sunday. I think that is who's number 2.
I agree.
But yeah, which is also to say Zone of Interest could be the thing that pushes Sandra Huller over. Now, she hasn't won any of the major precursors. And Lily Gladstone won SAG, which is the most important one. So
that could be them saying, here's the one from the actors. Like there is a level of maybe people saying you've got a bunch of these awards, and we gave Emma some awards too, but the Oscar is going to go to Sandra. I know that doesn't always happen.
Yeah, they don't vote as a monolith, but I mean the SAG body isn't nearly. I mean, it's like a totally different voting group than who votes on the Oscars. There's a lot of overlap, but it's not the same group.
And that's not the same, obviously, but there is. It's got the biggest overlap, I believe.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else exciting to you or that you might predict? Forget even the awards, just like this telecast. What do you think could be a shocker? The last couple of years, you had the slap,
Mm-hmm.
Years ago we had the La La Land and Moonlight Best Picture mix up. We've had Anthony Hopkins winning Best Actor to close an Oscars over
Mm-hmm.
Chadwick Boseman a couple of years ago. So there's been some crazy stuff. Um, Jimbo Kimball isn't gonna really. I'm sure he'll make fun of Matt Damon. That doesn't count.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anything that you could see being excited about happening.
Well, I'm looking at the presenters,
Mm-hmm.
and you've got Bad Bunny, you've got Dwayne the Rock Johnson.
Okay, so that's the one. What could The Rock do? Because I mean, he's gonna look to. He's been trying to get buzz.
Mm-hmm.
Black Adam failed. I talked about that for weeks and weeks and weeks. What a failure that was. He's doing WrestleMania. He turned heel. He announced a movie with Emily Blunt to try and, I think, squash the rumors that he was the actor who screamed at her on set of a
Mm-hmm.
movie. Um, could The Rock do something big at the Oscars to try and get some buzz? Like,
I mean,
will
he's
he have the
known.
financiers for Black Adam come on stage with him and then he like smacks him in the face or something, as a mea culpa? Does he challenge Vin Diesel to a match?
I mean, Bad Bunny is also a wrestler.
That's right. That's
So,
right.
is there some beef? Does he create some heat with Bad Bunny on stage?
Wow. Wow. Is Logan Paul presenting at the Oscars?
You
Because then
know,
we'd have a full, like, just the slate of WrestleMania would be on stage at the same time.
not currently listed, but he's known as a guy who'll trick you.
Right, right. And listen, they never announce ahead of time who's presenting Best Picture. So that could be the
Yeah.
Logan Paul spot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, in terms of the craziest things that could happen with this group of nominees, um, yeah, The Rock seems like someone who'd be looking to make some controversy on Sunday. Um, will there be any kind of Barbie Oppenheimer fallout? Margot Robbie didn't get the Best Actress nomination. She's up for Best Picture as a producer. But does she flip off Nolan or Cillian Murphy or someone from Oppenheimer when they get on stage? Does she just finally like get fed up and flip them off?
I mean that
She's so
she's
classy. I
so
don't.
classy. It's
Yeah, yeah,
so. I mean, she's just so classy. I mean, that whole group is so classy.
yeah, yeah,
I think it'd be hard to see anybody really do that.
yeah,
You know.
yeah.
I mean, does Jimbo Kimball bring out Joe Coy and give him another chance
You
to
can't. You
bring
can't.
down the building, and he just bombs way harder?
I mean, that's when my prediction is that the ratings fall through the
Do you
basement if you
bring out
bring out
Joe?
Joe Coy. You can't even mention Joe Coy.
Do
You're
you
not at
bring
the
out
Oscars.
Joe Coy and Gerald Carmichael and say, we're going to give you both a chance to do this right? And then they just have, like, how at the Apollo they just have somebody sweep them off stage and people start
Oh,
booing,
okay.
and then they just start booing, and then the Sandman comes out and sweeps them both off stage.
And then I think you have the Bill Clinton impersonator come out
Mm-hmm.
and do his Shaggy impression,
Yeah.
sing the Shaggy song.
Yeah.
Wasn't
It
me.
wasn't me. And then
Yeah.
that brings the house down.
That brings the house down. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that could be. I'm going with that. I like that. I like you bring Joe Coy and Jared Carmichael out, boot off stage. Bill Clinton impersonator does the Shaggy song, wasn't me, brings the house down, and then that's how you open the Academy Awards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, Jimbo Kibble is a late night host, and late night hosts cry now. That's a big thing. It never
Right.
happened with Johnny Carson, Letterman. I mean, maybe Letterman cried after 9/11,
Right.
but
Right.
you've got Jon Stewart crying over a dead puppy.
Right. Right.
You
Carson was arrested for DUIs 10 times in his reign and never cried once on
never
air.
cried once about it.
Yeah.
Jimbo Kimball cried about our I think he cried about our medical system or something
Okay.
like that. So they all cry. That's a big bit now
Mm-hmm.
for late night shows. I guess people like that. I guess
Yeah,
crying
yeah.
is the new telling jokes.
Yeah, yeah.
Does he cry? Does Jimbo Kimball cry on the Oscars?
Does Jimbo Kimball cry on the Oscars? Um, did anyone I mean,
Did his pet gerbil die?
would he cry during the in memoriam? Do you have maybe throughout the entire in memoriam just a camera on Jimbo Kimball and he cries the whole time? Like that could be a way to get his crying in at the right time.
I don't know. I mean, who knows? It's possible.
Yeah. Yeah. Instead of like a laugh track, you have a Jimbo Kimball cry track during the
Mm-hmm.
in memoriam. Maybe. Yeah, I don't think Jimbo Kimball is going to be much of a factor
No.
for the Oscars, but he'll, steady hand, steady hand. I'm excited for the show because it's the Oscars. Does Billy make an appearance?
Billy
Does Billy
Crystal.
Crystal make an appearance?
I mean, are we sure he's camera ready?
I mean, the last time we saw him was in Parental Guidance when he vomited at home.
Oh, that's
plate.
so long. He's done so many movies since then.
He has. Okay. I would love to see him present Best Picture.
Billy Crystal.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think that Billy Crystal, or even a combo of Billy Crystal and Whoopi Goldberg, because I don't think she gets her due as a famous Oscar host. She
Mhm.
kind of gets in the shadow of Billy Crystal, but she hosted like, I think 4 or 5 times.
Oh yeah, she was a big one back then.
And she had the great bit of when she came out in every best costume over the course of the night. And I think she was, I always wanted it to be Billy again, but I think she was always a solid host. I think Billy Crystal and Whoopi Goldberg giving out Best Picture based just solely on them being famous Oscar. Well, I mean, Whoopi Goldberg's an Oscar winner.
Yeah.
So I'd love to see that. The two of them give out Best Picture this year. That I'm going to throw that on as a prediction. I think that will happen.
You don't think it's You don't think it's Barbara? You don't think Babs comes out?
That's who I predicted when we had Kirk on. Okay, here's who it should be, and I think we could close maybe with our predictions for who it should be.
Right at 15 minutes, like we said, had to be.
Like
had
we
to be
said,
15 minutes.
Had to be 15 minutes. This was the year of Freddy Fazebear. I think all the animatronics come out, but it's Freddy Fazebear who then rips open the envelope and announces who wins Best Picture. Five Nights at Freddy's deserves that honor. So I think it should be Freddy Fazebear giving out Best Picture. Who do you think should, in a perfect world, give out Best Picture?
Yeah, I mean, as a box office guy, which we are, obviously. I mean, we're boys, but we're also guys.
Yeah, we're also guys.
I gotta agree with you there. I just think that's a franchise that's probably never going to get any sort of Oscar nomination the way Barbie did, Oppenheimer did. These other big hits that were keeping theaters going. I think it's the least we can do to give Freddy Fazebear that opportunity to be on that stage in a tuxedo and give out that award just as a, hey, thanks for helping the industry.
Right.
I mean, you're never going to get to keep one of those statues, but at least you'll get to touch it.
Yep. Yeah, I love to see it. I think either Freddy Fazebear or Billy Crystal and Whoopi together.
Okay.
All right, Clayton. I think that's more than enough for a web exclusive after BO. So I'll just say, everyone enjoy the Academy Awards this Sunday. Whatever happens, it's going to be great. So enjoy the Academy Awards, and we'll see you next time on the After BO.